Okay, so today we're going over Module 12.4, Similarity in Right Triangles. So the objective is students will use similar right triangles to discover the proportional sides. So let's start off with example 1. So again, we're finding the geometric mean here. So just what we did yesterday. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start off by writing down 3 over x equals x over 9. Then we just cross multiply here. X times x gives us x squared, and then 3 times 9 is 27. But then I take the square root of both sides. So this means that the x and the square root and the square eliminate each other. So we take x equals square root of 29. But if you recall, 29 is the same thing as saying 9 times 3 and the square root of each of them. So square root of 9 is 3. We can't take the square root of 3, so we leave it as square root of 3. So here we say x equals square root of 3. And this is the geometric mean. Okay, example 2. Again, same thing, 315. So we're going to take here 3 over x equals x over 15. And all we're going to do now is just cross multiply here. So x times x gives us x squared. And then 3 times 15 gives us 45. Square root both sides. These eliminate. I get x equals square root 45. Okay, now I want to find if I could reduce the square root of 45. So the two numbers that go into it, a perfect square would be 9 and then 5. So square root of 9 times square root of 5. So here we get x equals square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 5, we can't take the square root of 5, so we leave it as square root of 5. So that means my answer here is 3 square root of 5, which is my geometric mean. All right, next one, 2 and 3. Again here, 2 over x equals x over 3. You can cross multiply here. X times x gives us x squared. 2 times 3 is 6. I take the square root of it. So here, square root of 6 we cannot reduce. So we just leave it as square root of 6. And that is my answer. So this is my geometric mean. Four, 2 and 10. So here again, 2 over x equals x over 10. Cross multiply. X times x is x squared. 2 times 10 gives me 20. To get rid of the square, I square root it. Eliminate. Okay, so x equals square root of 20. Now I can reduce square root of 20 as 4 times 5. So square root of 4 times the square root of 5. So x equals here. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 5 we cannot reduce, so we leave it as square root of 5. So this is my answer, and that's my geometric mean. Okay. So here in example 5, it says we're setting up proportional triangles. So if you look here, if you look at the triangle picture there, you have 3 different triangles. So if you see the first one, it's this one right here. So that's your small one. So your small one, the way you set it up. So you know this is A, this is D, and up here is B. Okay, next one. Is we have this triangle here. So I'm gonna highlight in blue. So there, it's down right there. So the way we set this one up is just look where the 90 degrees at. 90 degrees right here, which means that's at point D. Next point over here is B. And the last point over here is C. So far there's two triangles right there. And there's actually one more. So if you look at the whole triangle, the whole thing right there. And let's label the sides here. Okay, so 90 degrees right here. And the coordinates at B. A is over here. And then C is up here. Okay, now so the similar sides here, we would say AB is similar to BC is similar to AC. Okay, so that's the hypotenuse side right there. Okay, now the other sides that we could use that are similar. So the way we could label it here is like this. So this side similar to this side to this side. Okay, the next ones, these two are similar. So I could say here BD similar to CD similar to CB. And the last one, this one, these three so that'll be AD similar to BD similar to AB. Okay, so let's set up a few problems how to solve this. So looking at this problem right here. Okay, again, let's figure out what our triangles are that they give us. So first triangle is this right here. All right, so let's put in the values they give us here. Okay, so in this triangle, here's a 90 degree, which means this part right here is 2. This part over here is X, and this part over here is Z. Okay, now the middle triangle. So here I have the middle triangle, which is this one right here. So when I set up my next triangle, is that one right there. So again, 90 degree is right here. This side is X. This side is 10. And the long side is Y. And then if I look at my biggest triangle, it's this right here. Again, if I look where my 90 degrees at, it's this one right here, 90 degree. This side down here is X. And then this side here is, oh, sorry. Delete that, don't write that down. Put the wrong value right there. Okay, so on my big triangle, this side is z. Okay, this side is y. But now the big side here, you see how it has 10 and 2? So 10 plus 2 gives me 12. I'm going to put up here 12. Okay, so I need to solve for x. So I want to use the two triangles with x. So use two triangles with x. Okay, which means it's going to be this one and that one. Okay. So what I'm using here okay, so I want to use where x is at. X is this right here. So that corresponds with the 10. And then x is on the bottom. And that corresponds with the 2. Okay, so when I solve that, I'm going to set up like this. X over 2 equals 10 over x. And I just cross multiply. X squared equals 10 times 2, which is 20. Take the square root. So I get x equals square root of 20. Or we could simplify this to 4 times 5. So I get here x equals 2 square root of 5. Okay, so now let's solve for the next one. Right, so now I'm going to solve for y. So to solve for y, okay, again, I'm going to set up my triangles. So I'm going to set up my 3 triangles here. So when I put in my values here, okay, so I know the small triangle has values of 2. Okay, z is right here. And my x value was 2 square root of 5 from the other triangle. So remember from this one, x right here is 2 square root of 5. Okay. Now I'm going to put my 90-degree here. Now my medium triangle, the bottom was x or 2 square root of 5. And I have y and I have a 10. And the last triangle, this is 12. This is z. And this is y. So I'm trying to solve for y. So use two triangles with y. So I'm using this one and this one right here. Right, so when I set that one up, let's figure out what the corresponding parts are right here. So I know y is right here. That corresponds with this 12. Y is this side. This corresponds with this 10. Right, so when I solve for that, so I'm going to take y and 12. And I have 10 and y. So I'm going to cross multiply. Y times y gives me y squared. 10 times 12 gives me 120. Okay. Now I'll take the square root of it. Okay. Now I'm going to get y equals square root of 120. All right, so I have to figure out, does a number going to 120 is a perfect square? So here, I get 4 times 30. And that's as far as I could go here, so I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So from here, I end up getting y equals 2 times the square root of 30. All right, so that's all we have to solve for, just x and y. So now let's solve for example 8, solve for x. Okay, so again here we have our 3 triangles. So let's kind of like figure out which one's which. Okay, so here we have, so my small one will be this one right here. So there's my 90. I mean, this is x, this is y, and then I have 5 down here. All right, my middle one is this side right here. So 90-degree angle is right here, which makes this x, this is 7, and this z. And then my big triangle, which is the whole thing over here. So again, 90 degrees right here. Hypotenuse 7 times plus 5 is 12. Okay, bottom side over here is y. And that means this is right here, this is z. So I want to solve for x. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the 2 triangles with x, which makes it this one and this one right here. So when I set them up, see x is right here and 7. So think of x over 7 equals 5 and an x, 5 over x. So then I just cross multiply here. So I get x squared equals 7 times 5 is 35. Take the square root of it. So I end up getting x equals square root of 35. That's as far as I could go. All right, so next one over here. I want to solve for y. Again, it's my triangles here. So I know my small one right here is 5. This is y. And from my previous problem, x was square root of 35. Okay. Now my middle one over here is this one. So I know this side over here is x, or this is square root of 35. This side 7, and this side is z. And in my big triangle, this side's y, this side over here is 12, and this side is z. So again, I'm going to use 2 triangles with y, which makes it the small one and the big one. So where my y is at, it's right here and right here. So y and 12. And I have my 5 and the y down here. So I put 5 over y. Okay, so now I cross multiply. Y times y gives me y squared. 12 times 5 gives me 60. Now I just take the square root of both sides. So y equals square root of 60. Or 60, I could break it down by 4 and 15. So that means my y right here is equal to 2 times the square root of 15. Okay, so we're done with today's notes.